Let's talk about something every virtual assistant or freelancer needs: boundaries. Boundaries help to protect your time, your energy, and your sanity while you maintain professional relationships with your clients. In this video, I'm going to share with you key boundaries that you should have as a virtual assistant, and I'll share a couple of examples that you can use. So let's get started. First one is time and availability boundaries. You need to be super clear about when you're available, how long things take, and how fast you respond when a client reaches out in regards to a matter. For example, you might say, I'm available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. EST time. I typically respond within 24 hours. Requests that fall outside the agreed timeline may attract a rush fee. Notice how that was simple, clear, and not confusing. Use this boundary with a client who's always reaching out after hours and inconsiderate about your pay. They want you to work extra hours, but they don't want to pay for it. You need to communicate this boundary with them. Second is communication boundaries. This is how and where you communicate with your clients. This way, you don't have clients reaching out to you on different platforms for different work requests. Someone is reaching out to you on WhatsApp, they were reaching out to you on Slack, they're sending you an email. It can get very, very confusing and disturbing. So you need to communicate with your clients what channel you are comfortable with when it comes to work. An example of this boundary can be, I prefer to keep all task requests via our project management tool like Asana or Trello. In case you would love for us to meet outside of our scheduled meeting time, feel free to book time on my calendar via my booking link. When you're clear about how you want clients to reach out to you, clients know how to treat you. They get certain about where to reach out to you. So you avoid all of these messages coming from different platforms. You're disorganized. You're feeling very frustrated. They get very clear. If I reach out to Joy on WhatsApp, she will respond. If I reach out to her on Slack, she's gonna take a couple of days to actually see my message. You need to be very certain about how and where clients can reach out to you. Third boundary is payment and financial boundaries. Now, this one is major. It protects you from late payments, scope creep, and working for free. Now, when it comes to scope creep, it's like someone going out of what you have decided that you'll actually be working on. Someone is giving you tasks that weren't there in the job description, that weren't there in the contract. You need to point this out immediately. And when I say working for free, I know I always say here on my channel that if you have the opportunity to gain experience working for free, then you should take it up. But in the event that someone has paid you for a job, but then they are extending other tasks to you, you need to speak up immediately. Speak up and say to them, hey, this wasn't in the contract. If you would love for me to do this extra work, then it's gonna cost you this amount of money. You need to talk about this, because when it comes to your finances, excuse me, we don't play here about that. If you've paid me for a job, then I'm gonna do the job. If you wanna extend the job out of what we had spoken about, you are still gonna pay me for it. Some examples you can use to reinforce this boundary: I require 50% upfront and the remaining 50% upon completion. Payments are due within 7 days of invoicing. Late payments may incur a fee. Any extra tasks outside our contract will be billed at this amount of dollars per hour. You have to keep in mind that your work is valuable and people should be able to pay for it. Don't be afraid to speak up. If someone is giving you work outside of what you had discussed, you have to enforce this in your policies. It has to be in a contract, or you have to communicate this with the client. But always, always speak up, especially around the financial boundaries, because I know clients can push you and they will try to squeeze you and say, hey, is this kind of person who can do this kind of work without getting paid? You have to speak up immediately. Fourth boundary is scope of work boundaries. I hinted on this boundary in the last boundary I shared. This is where you share what you do and what you cannot do. Examples of reinforcing this boundary are: my role covers social media management but not paid ad campaigns unless we agree on that separately. I don't handle personal errands like ordering groceries or making medical bookings. This way, if a client asks for work outside of the required scope of work, then you have to issue them an invoice or let them know immediately, hey, you asked me to do this, it's outside of the scope of work. I'm going to send an extra invoice on what I normally send because you asked me to order groceries. You asked me to make these medical bookings. You asked me to book these flights. This was outside of what I was required to do when we signed the contract. You need to speak up about this boundary as well. Number 5 is personal boundaries. You have to protect your personal space at all times. Some clients can overextend themselves. In certain scenarios, if you're not comfortable with sharing your personal number, you can let a client know. You can reach out to me via email, or we can always leave communication to Slack, or I have this WhatsApp business number that you can reach out to me on. You let them know if they're overextending themselves. Always let them know. I'm one of those people who tends to not look at my emails over the weekend because I go hard 5 days in the week. And I always let my clients know, if you reach out to me over the weekend, I may not respond until Sunday night or Monday morning my time. It's important that you communicate this with your clients so that over the weekend, even if you see 100 emails coming in, you're not triggered. You don't find yourself in a position where you're spending time with your friends and family and then all of a sudden you're running, you're going to your emails. No. You need to have a life. You have a life outside of work. This way you can have a work-life balance. When you have these personal boundaries communicated with your client, some of them in certain scenarios, if they reach out to you over the weekend, they can even say, hey Joe, you don't need to attend to this right now. I'm working on this particular task, but I just wanted to share these updates on you, or this is what I would love for you to take a look at first thing on Monday. They have that at the back of their mind, and the way that they reach out to you, you see that they are respectful of your personal space. They understand it's a weekend, you're spending time with your friends, your family. They understand that you have life outside of work. Finally, respect and professionalism boundaries. You deserve respect. Everyone deserves respect. Respect is paramount when working with anybody. However, during high pressure moments, respect can get lost. It can disappear, and a client may come off as harsh or aggressive. You need to communicate this with your client about how you're feeling. If someone disrespects you at work, always speak up. Don't be the kind of individual who keeps quiet. Don't stand in a disrespectful work environment. If you're not valued, if someone is shouting when speaking to you over a Zoom call and you are 1,000 miles away, you need to speak up. If they are sending you horrible messages, you need to communicate it immediately and say, hey, I don't like the manner at which you are reaching out to me in regards to this issue. Here are a couple of examples that you can have in writing to communicate these boundaries. I don't tolerate disrespectful or aggressive communication. If it happens again, I'll pause or terminate our collaboration. I reserve the right to discontinue services if expectations become unreasonable or abusive. Personally, this boundary in regards to respect outweighs all the other boundaries for me. I know there's someone listening to me right now and they're like, Joy, what about if they're paying me this amount of money? You cannot pay me any amount of money to get disrespected. I don't care how much it is. I'm not going to get disrespected. So if we're working together, the goal is that we keep everything professional. We stay professional at all costs. If I sense any level of disrespect, I will leave. These are my key boundaries. I hope that you can reinforce them as a virtual assistant. Don't forget to include them in your contract. I advise that you include the scope of work boundary, the financial boundary, as well as the respect boundary in your contract. The other boundaries, they can come in during the onboarding call. You can communicate with your client and let them know, this is how I would love for you to reach out to me, or ask them, are you comfortable with us using this particular tool? And then they can let you know. The boundaries will always be pushed when it comes to work. It will happen. But having them in your contract or always communicating with your client will help you stay grounded. It will help you have a work-life balance, and it will ensure that you're respected at work. I hope this video helps somebody. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe with anybody who wants to start out as a virtual assistant or a freelancer who is wondering, how do I enforce boundaries with my clients? This video will help them. I'll see you guys in these internet streets. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you. Bye.